Hey everybody, this is Mr. Qualls, and we're talking about looking at lesson 9.1. This is what the lesson looked like if you were in the classroom with me. What we're talking about here is a type of transformation, and there are 4 different types of transformations that we're going to be talking about here in the next couple of weeks. One of them is a translation, which is like a slide. Another one is a reflection, and then there is a rotation, and then there is one called the dilation. It's something that we can have success with right away in the 8th grade, in an 8th grade pre-algebra class. Everybody can get very good at doing these very easily. So, what we're going to look at here is what makes a translation. Well, a translation is a movement right or left, up or down on the grid, on the coordinate plane that we use, like this right here. And if we're looking at page 279, what we're looking at is a translation of triangle ABC as it is being moved down and right on the coordinate plane. Now, what happens here is if triangle ABC is being moved down to the right, if A is moved down and we're not allowed to turn the shape, if A moves down here, that means that C also moves down here, and so does B. So if we move A down this direction and we count how many positions it's moved, it has moved down one. Let me get a different pointer here. If we look at how many positions it's moved down, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. And then we would be down here at this line right here, which matches that right there. Okay? Also, if it was going to move over to the right, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's 5 down and 7 to the right. Now, if we're talking about a movement to the right, we're going to have to add to the x. And if we're talking about movement down, we're going to have to subtract from the y. And we'll get to that in just a little bit. The big pieces here are, this thing is called a pre-image because it was before, and this is referred to as our image. Okay? It may sound a little backwards at first, but you'll get used to it. The new one that we're drawing is called the image, and the one before it was called the pre-image. And we usually start with a pre-image. Okay? So, we look at that. We have an image, a pre-image, and this makes the translation. We also should look at a couple of other things here before we go on. One of the things I'd like to talk about is if we're looking at triangle, that's not showing up. Okay, if we look at this as triangle ABC is what that is called, ABC, and then this one over here is going to be known as triangle A prime B prime C prime. I'm saying this word, prime, P-R-I-M-E, okay? A prime, B prime, C prime. Or I could say ABC prime, okay? Now what that means is the pre-image over here starts with ABC, and then the image is A prime, B prime, C prime. The prime tells you that it has gone through a change. Okay, it has gone through a translation to become A prime, and that this is the image, and the ones that are not marked are the pre-image. All right. It also allows us to talk about, if I was going to talk about B up here, if I didn't say B and B prime, you wouldn't know which one I was talking about. So if I call it B, I'm talking about this one right here. But if I'm talking about this point, I'm talking about B prime. Okay? Now, another thing I'd like to talk about real quick is if all the points that are on triangle ABC go through the translation to triangle ABC prime, to our image, and they all go through the same change, something else that's the same always happens with this. If you look, the distance from B to C is 2. And the distance down here from B prime to C prime is also 2. The distance from A to C is 4. And the distance from A prime to C prime is also 4. So nothing has changed shape. Nothing has changed shape. Nothing has changed size. Nothing has changed from one image to, or from one pre-image to the image. All right? Now, we call that a special kind of equal, right? So it's a special kind of equal, and we call it congruent. So the word congruent really means same. Okay? Really means same. I can say that triangle ABC and triangle ABC prime are congruent because they are the same size and shape. Cool? All right. So I'm going to go on to example 1 on page 28. Or excuse me, page 281. Page 28. That's funny. Page 281. So this is example 1 on page 281. And what we're looking at is what happens if I take an triangle XYZ, which is our pre-image, and we change it into X prime, Y prime, Z prime, which is going to be our image. Okay? So, and it says, graph the image of a triangle after translation of 4 units to the right and 1 unit up. So what happens if we take X, 4 to the right and 1 up, Y, 4 to the right and 1 up, Z, 4 to the right and 1 up? Well, we're adding to the X value and we're adding to the Y value, and then our new triangle sits right there. Okay? So what I would like you to do right now is, if you're on page 282, at the top of it, there's a your turn problem, number 4, and I would like you to stop the video and do that problem, and then we'll talk about it in just a second. So we're looking at page 282, your turn number 4. Stop the video, do that problem, and then we'll talk about it here in just a second. Cool. All right, and we're back. So let's look at number 4 on the top of page 282. Now this figure shows a parallelogram ABCD. Graph the image of the parallelogram after a translation of 5 units to the left and 2 units down. So what you should have done is take each of these points, A. If A is going to become A prime, it moves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the left, and then 1, 2 down. And there it is. If B is going to become B prime, it must do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the left, and 2 down. Same thing with D. Whoop, whoop. And C. Whoop, whoop. There we are. So you can see nothing has changed in this except where it is. It has gone left and down. Nothing has changed size. Nothing has changed shape. So these two shapes are congruent. That's right. That's right. They are congruent, which is a special way to say same. Very good. Very good. So there are a couple of other things I want to talk about with this before we go on that is not listed in the book. Now, when a mathematician sees something like this, parallelogram ABCD, okay? We know a few things. we know that there is a parallelogram somewhere that has A and then a line to B and a line to C and then a line to D. And then there is a line from D back to A. Let's see if that works there. It's an A with a line over to B, line down to C, line to D, and a line to A. Okay? So this goes this direction and then back over to A. It's written in that order because that's the order that it is in the picture. So when we reference this is the pre-image, when we reference the image, it is A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime, and it is in the same order that the pre-image was. I also know over here that there is a line between A prime and B prime and C prime and D prime, and then D prime back to A prime. And look, here they are. Okay? Also, a couple of things. If AB is listed here, I know that line segment AB is going to correspond to line segment A prime B prime. And look, those lines are the same lines. AB is the same or congruent as A prime B prime because it went through a translation, and translations do not change size or shape. They only move things. All right? They only slide them. So, if we wanted to know something else here, we also know that BC corresponds to B prime C prime. So BC corresponds with B prime C prime. Yeah. Oh no, I wrote my book. Uh-oh, I'm in trouble for that, bro. Oh, I'm in trouble. So, there are two other sides that correspond as well, and that would be CD and C prime D prime, and then D, A, and D prime, A prime. You'll notice that the A and the C are not next to each other here, so I know there's no line between A and C. And if we look at our picture, there's no line between A and C, because everything here is in an order so that you can talk to another mathematician and tell them what you're talking about, A, B, C, D, and the other person knows exactly what you mean. That's why we talk like we do. Okay? All right. So, let's just go through the guided practice here. This is on page 282. Here we go. And the first one is a transformation is a change in position, size, and shape of the figure. Now, we've been talking about translations, which is a type of transformation. And a translation is really a slide. Right, left, up, down, or a combination. Number two, when you perform a transformation on a figure coordinate plane, the input of the transformation is called the pre-image, and the output, or the one that you're about to draw or create yourself, is the image. So the pre-image is first, the image is the one that we're making. Number three talks about orientation, and for right now, all you need to know is that orientation means, has it been turned? And you remember these things, nothing in these has been turned. It's just been slid around. Nothing is turning. Nothing is turning. All right. Now number four, this guy Rashid drew rectangle PQRS on a coordinate plane. He then translated the triangle 3 up and 3 to the left and labeled the image PQRS prime. How do the two rectangles compare? Well, compare in math means something different than compare in English. In the English class, compare means we're going to look at what's like or similar between two things so that we can talk about their differences. That's what a compare and contrast is. With math, compare just means one thing. which one of them is greater, or are they equal? And in this case, the new rectangle is the same as the old rectangle, so they get our special sameness word, which is congruent. Cool. Number 5. The figure shows trapezoid WXYZ. The graph of the image of the trapezoid after 4 units up and 2 units to the left. So, oh, they want you to graph. Sorry. You only have the blue one in your book, I think. But they want to go 4 units up and 2 units to the left. So it's 4 up, 2 to the left. Ding, 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 ding. And the WXYZ becomes W prime X prime Y prime Z prime. Okay? And then number 6, what are the properties of translations? Well, translations don't change the size of the shape or the orientation or turning of a figure. All right, so that went pretty well, I think. So what I want you to do now is the assignment, which is page 283, numbers 7 through 15 all. Do those, get them done, okay? And the last 3 are pretty tough, but when you get them done, send me a picture. Thank you so much.